Glenn Hanson here from Vector Health and Performance. So today we're talking through some of the things that happen with girls going into contact sport, and then some of the issues that happen with shoulders. So shoulders are the most unstable joint that you have in your body, but the advantage of them is that they move the most. So in terms of ranges of motion, all the way around here, there, from a simplistic point of view, it moves the most. So they're useful, but inherently unstable. So with girls, we know that they're not necessarily as strong as a boy of the same age will be, especially when you look at things like how many push-ups can you do in a set time, so power to body weight sort of ratio. So this is one of the things we really try and improve in female athletes, and so there's a couple of things that really contribute to that. So one is thoracic spine, sort of the amount of mobility through that part of your body. So you want a stable lumbar spine, so the lower part of your back, and then in between, say, this point and this point here is your thoracic spine. It's pretty much simplistically anything that's attached back to your rib cage. So if that isn't as mobile as it needs to be, it's very hard for then the scapula, so that's your shoulder blade, to move across your back to provide stability to the shoulder so that it can move through full ranges of motion. So in terms of how that affects your push-up, if your scapulas can't hold one set position doing a push-up, then it's very hard to get full range because you'll protract too far and all of the pressure goes through the front part or the anterior capsule of the rotator cuff. So some of the exercises we try and get girls especially to do stabilisation exercises of the shoulder blade, and these are some of the things that we work on in any sort of contact sport preparation program, especially for female athletes. So we're going to get down and show you some of those exercises now and show you how it relates back to being able to actually do a full range or proper push-up, which is especially useful for especially football performance, because it demonstrates more strength, and especially this plane of motion, which is where you run towards or tackle in. Alright, so this exercise here is called a face pull. So it's essentially a posterior or the back of the shoulder working. So just move back a bit. Alright, so Rachel's going to hold her elbows nice and high, and she's going to pull the band towards her nose. And then back and forth. So these are a good exercise to do specifically as a warm-up. It engages all of the posterior shoulder musculature in terms of a stable context. These are some of the muscles that are primarily responsible for holding a push pattern in a stable sense. So really good to do in reps of between 12 and 25 to fire up or to activate all of those muscles that exist at the back of the shoulder. Okay, so these are shoulder boxes, so mini bands. So I would recommend starting these quite light. So this is like a yellow coloured iron edge band. For girls, you'd almost get the red coloured iron edge bands, which are lighter again, to start with. So this is specifically driven towards rotator cuff strengthening. It's working on smaller muscles, so in terms of the weight of the load that's driven by, it's a little bit harder to use heavy loads and get it right. So this is all about quality, not necessarily about the quantity of work you're doing. So it's starting here, it's externally rotating, which is this way or this way. So it's holding that position almost the entire time. So it's around your wrists here, it's pulling out, it's raising up, it's externally rotating back, then down, and there like that. So it's up, then out, then down, then in, like that. So quite hard to control. So from there you want to hold your trap, so a slight shrug, and your shoulders up like that, which helps in terms of range and stabilisation. So from that point of view there, it's rotating back like that without dropping your shoulders and without letting the band come closer. So you end up with the band stretched quite hard, which is why you want to start with a lighter band to start with. And as I said, it's all about quality. And if I was doing that better, I would have my hands locked wider so that my wrist is centered right over the top of my elbow like that. So that's a really good one. It's a more advanced shoulder exercise, but a really good one to be able to do. Things like squatting with a bar, bench pressing, tackling. If you're landing like this, that sort of thing, which you do all the time playing contact sport. those sort of movement patterns are stabilised by the muscles that you're going to work in this particular exercise. So you can give that a go. As I said, it's a bit more advanced, and usually you want a bit of supervision to start doing that. But again, some of the things that we work really hard with athletes on in a contact sport prep program.